Community-based natural resource management officially came into existence in the country over a decade ago. The forum's focus is around creating secure livelihoods for communities in Zambia through sustainable utilization of natural resources that includes forestry, fisheries, water, agriculture, land and wildlife. Effective management of natural resources is key to curbing adverse effects of the natural habitat. For the CBNRM Forum in Zambia, efforts to improve community livelihoods through effective management of natural resources is priority. Programs Coordinator Alimakio Zulu now explains the role of CBNRM Forum.
CBNRM stands for Community-Based Natural Resource Management Forum. It is a membership organization comprising of community-based organizations, government institutions, and other institutions that are related to conservation of natural resources. So our role is to improve the livelihoods of communities using the natural resources. So we are a conservation group, so to speak. And that's the key role that we play. We do a lot of training programs. We support communities to do their activities that have to do with natural resources. Some of the activities that we are involved in, looking at the issues on the ground right now, because of, there's forest degradation, for example, is one of the key issues. Then there's also air and land pollution. It's one of the issues that we are concerned. Then there's biodiversity losses, that is in simple terms, losing the species in terms of forest, in terms of animals, in terms of insects, in terms of fish, in terms of things. Those are what we call biodiversity losses. So we are concerned. These are the three major areas of concern. So what we do is to enhance the conservation.
Since the launch of the Citizens Manifesto by the Civil Society for Poverty Reduction, a number of civil society organizations have backed the media campaign to incorporate citizens' manifestos in political party agendas. And the CBNRM Forum has thrown its weight in support of the campaign.
I participate in the meetings that CSPR is doing, so I have heard, we have been communicating with CSPR. We want to support the livelihoods of the communities. And so there are things that are very critical to achieve that if we have to engage with government, particularly in policy and legislation. So we are talking about effective enforcement of the laws, so that we ensure that the biodiversity is protected. Also, these policies that we have in government, they should be implemented, because those are guidelines that support, the implementation of activities. And so we see that some of these policies are not harmonized. You have heard of, for example, you have heard things like mining in the national parks. It's because we are not following what is put as a law. So government should ensure that they adhere to the laws and the policy. So that's our major concern, because that's a policy direction that we should use so that we can do the conservation as planned.
Citizens are aware of the importance of managing the environment, and their views on the need for political parties to incorporate their submissions must be taken seriously.
When you talk about the environment, for me it's actually a very, very important thing, because it forms an integral part of human existence. And nowadays we talk about a lot of development that is coming through. And my understanding is most of these political parties basically try to find ways and means of how they can use our limited natural resources to bring about development and better human lives. So as a person who is very much interested in the conservation of the environment, the ecosystems, biodiversity, I would actually want to see that political parties not only talk about they are going to do this in terms of development, they will do roads, they will create jobs through mining, they will do a lot of things. We do very much depend on extraction of the natural resources as Africans, Zambia in particular. So I would want to see very specifically what a political party will be talking about in terms of when they say they are going to create jobs, they are going to expand the industry, manufacturing, construction. How are they going to do it? And how are they going to ensure that whatever development agendas they put in place, or activities or interventions, do not compromise our natural resources? We have to use the natural resources in a very, very sustainable manner. They are very limited and they are all diminishing, and most of them are diminishing assets. If you look at mining, for example. Currently, there is a very huge global trend in terms of how development is being undertaken, which is looking at broader areas of development, catchments, regions, using integrated resource corridors approach. So under that, for example, you are looking about a very huge expanse of land, involving, for example, forestry, involving wildlife, involving a lot of water bodies. So you need to do a lot of integrated sort of planning. And I would want to see a political party that is going to talk about this is how we are going to ensure that, for example, economic development does not compromise our natural resource base. And this is how we are going, for example, to ensure food security through agriculture, which is climate smart, for example, which is also responsive to ensuring that we are sustainably using the agricultural production base. And not just talking about we are going to do this, we are doing A, B, C, D. I think we need people that are going to scientifically show us how they are going to do it. And that's very, very critical to me as a person who is concerned about development, but also our natural resource management.
What I'd like to see, and other many Zambians, is that the environment must be protected, because there's a lot of deforestation, there's a lot of noise pollution and water pollution, and as a result, it's creating a lot of sicknesses, in the peoples. And so I think it's important that political parties that have manifestos and are vying for political office must ensure that their manifestos speak much or bigger on environment, because environment talks about life. If you have no good environment, it simply means that you have no good, life as an individual and as many people, because they'll be infected. There'll be waterborne diseases, affecting them. There'll be a lot of other, issues that will affect them, that they'll not be able to breathe properly, or they'll become very sick. And I think also a healthy environment simply means that you have a healthy people, a healthy nation, and people you'll be able to operate properly accordingly without any problems and difficulties. And so I think political parties must ensure that they put more meat or stake to issues of environment. After all, environment is life. Look at the ozone layer now, which is actually destroying us, or destroying the whole world, where you have rains stopping maybe in August, or you have cold weather coming maybe in January instead of in June. So I think environment is best. Environment is good, because environment talks about people being very healthy, going about their businesses without being polluted.
Every sector of life poses its own challenges. The community-based natural resource management is not spared of such constraints.
Poverty is a big issue on the ground, and we are talking about communities using the resources so that they can address the issue of poverty. So, if they don't have access, if they are rights to access of natural resources, poverty can continue. So we want to ensure that the communities on the ground, those that live with natural resources, they have got the rights to access the natural resources. What are these natural resources? We are talking about the forest, we are talking about the minerals, we are talking about wildlife and so forth and so on. So do they have access? For example, big development, if they are done in the localities in which they are, sometimes they are displaced and without proper compensation for that matter. And that's an effect for to the local people. And so, because we are a civil society, we try to support, we try to help them to understand, so that they also realize their rights towards the use of natural resources, and towards also so that the government can also uphold their rights as citizens who are living with natural resources.
It is from these challenges that the CBNRM Forum in Zambia proposes what political parties must incorporate in their manifestos.
What I would like to see is that if a political party comes into power, they should respect the rights of the communities, and so they should enhance the laws and also policy implementation, like I said before. They shouldn't just be laws that are just on paper, but they should be implemented. We have got very good policies, but the implementation is a problem. So if we can implement the policies that we have, we will be very glad.
Communities make up the structures that political parties thrive on to garner the numbers needed to assume office. As the country votes, it is important that citizens' views are incorporated in the various political party manifestos.